So Jack Benny, it's a little bit lighter fare maybe than the last three episodes. Uh, just to be clear, I really love Jack Benny. I still find his humor very fresh and funny, and I'm happy to say that after 15 years of teaching, my students, both in Britain and America, still find him funny as well. And I find that very gratifying, and not just because I'm actually from the same town that Jack is from, Waukegan, Illinois, but just because I really think it's really genuinely entertaining stuff. And I think he's a wonderful performer, and this is just really intelligent comedy. And a lot of it is very, very good-natured. So what makes Jack Benny funny? As with the previous shows, no surprise here, Benny again is a very self-referential performer. And weirdly enough, despite the difference in content and form here, he shares a lot of meta-theatrical techniques with War of the Worlds. So like War of the Worlds, in the episode that you listened to, it was March 28th, 1948, by the way, nearly the entire show is meta-theatrical and self-referential to radio as a medium. And so the main reason for all these visitors to Jack's house is to talk to him about their upcoming broadcast, to get their opinion on performances, or to run some advertisements by him. So virtually everything that they do during the show is about a show that never happens. And this is a repeated kind of trope for the Jack Benny show. So just as a couple of wonderful examples of this. So I'll play the beginnings of Dennis Day here, who's the crooner that you hear, who's got the very, very boyish voice, but sings remarkably romantically. Let me just play a little bit of that, the beginning.
Before you get too interested in that script, wouldn't you like to hear the song I prepared for the program?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, sing, kid. I can listen to you and read at the same time.
Okay.
The horses are bedded down for the night when suddenly a shot is heard in the distance.
And repeatedly, Jack asks Dennis to rehearse his song, and it's always not just a rehearsal, it's a performance. And even more sort of funny and weird is Don Wilson, who's an announcer, comes on later and wants to rehearse his advertisement for, of course, Lucky Strikes, who is the sponsor of the show. I'll actually listen to the whole of this, even though it's not germane to the main part of what I'm talking about tonight. It's one of these really fascinating things about old time radio, this era, is how critical you could be of your sponsor and how much you could make fun of them in a certain way. You couldn't go too far, but you could go fairly far, farther than you might be able to go these days.
Hello, Jack. Hi, fellas.
Now, Don, I haven't got time to listen to the quartet. I'll see you tomorrow.
But, Jack, this number's so novel, I think you ought to hear it. It's a Western.
Don, I don't care if it's a Western. Say, maybe that would fit in my picture. All right, Don, let's hear the number. Go ahead. I'm an old cowhand from the Rio Grande, but my legs ain't bold and my cheeks ain't tan. I'm a cowboy who never saw a cow, never rode a steer, cause I don't know how, and the show ain't fixing to start him now. Yippee-yi-yo-ki-yay.
Wonderful.
Yippee-yi-yo-ki-yay.
Fit right in my picture.
Oh,
Don.
carry me not from the lone prairie. Just give me a lucky strike.
LSMFT, for they are the first choice all over the ring.
Be great.
And all the
That's a wonderful
cowboys say they'll never change. So for Lucky Strike, that's the one you like. LSMFT, that's the one for me. Injun tribe had big powwow. Listen to
Don, look at
cow. Big Chief F.B. Boom say how. Speedy Rick say
No, Don, I don't want Indians in it. I just want a Western. No, Don, no Indians in the picture. Just for a Western.
Injun tribe.
No, look at Don. Wait a minute, Don. Wait a minute, fellas. I don't want it. Wait a minute.
So it gets out of hand there towards the end, but it's very interesting, the radio of this period, that you could do this with the advertisements. So the advertisements were woven into the show. They became part of the show. They were oftentimes entertaining, and as you can see here, they poke a little bit of fun at the advertiser as well. But you had to be careful not to go too far, because the advertiser is the person who's paying your paycheck every week. So, so Don, like Dennis, is there to try out the material for the show that sort of never happens. So it's got that sort of, again, meta-theatrical feel to it, but Benny's humor is also a lot of other things. It's also very self-deprecating. He makes himself constantly the butt of jokes rather than laughing at the expense of others. One of the things that he tends to do is he sort of sets himself up as greater than he truly is, and then other people get to burst his bubble and deflate his ego. One of the many sort of recurring jokes is Benny as a violinist. He was a modestly successful violinist in vaudeville, on the vaudeville circuit. But as a comedian, he pretends to be a virtuoso violinist who is actually quite bad. And so he pretends to play badly so that his comic sidekicks and the people he's working with can make fun of him. And so he makes himself out to be the butt of the joke. He also brags constantly about his ability as an actor. And in this episode, he has apparently, by winning some gin rummy games, he's finally finagled a script. So just a little bit of Benny here as, again, bragging about his prowess as an actor, especially, compared to Ronald Colman, who had just won an Academy Award.
The Library of Anita.
That's a pretty good idea. Story, somebody came in. Rochester, is that you coming back?
It ain't General MacArthur.
Well, it's about time.
Hey, what's that you're reading, boss?
It's a script from Warner Brothers, and it looks great. Gee, if I'd have made this picture last year, I would have won the Academy Award instead of Ronald Colman.
If you'd have made it in that dust cap and apron, you'd have won it instead of Loretta Young.
Never mind.
You know, boss, I wish you would win an Academy Award sometime. I've never seen an Oscar.
You haven't? Well, Rochester, your wish may come true, because if I make this picture, I'm a cinch to win it.
And maybe if you had someone with you in a supporting role, it might help.
Well, a good supporting actor does add something. Who did you have in mind, Dennis?
Ronald Colman.
Ronald in my picture? That's a pretty good idea. I mean, now that he won the award, he certainly is worthy of the opportunity.
And that's, again, the sort of bragging persona that he projects so that then others can make fun of him. And there you heard briefly Eddie Rochester Anderson, his black butler with a very, very distinctive voice. And that brings up another sort of thing that Jack's humor does in his relationships to others who would be considered sort of socially beneath him as a successful male, basically white actor. And instead of that, he constantly puts himself below. And so Rochester his black butler is constantly getting the better of him. So, for example, in this episode, we find Jack at the very beginning. What he's doing is he's cleaning the house. We'll just sort of tune in for just a little bit of that intro.
And now, let's go out to Jack Benny's house in Beverly Hills where we find... must be something wrong here. Ah, that's what it says. Where we find Jack down on his knees scrubbing the kitchen floor.
I didn't know a floor could get this dirty. Well, anyway, the floor's scrubbed. What a job. Now, let's see, what else is on that list of things I have to do? Oh, yes, I've already dusted the bedrooms, turned the mattresses, changed the linen on the beds, did the dishes, washed the... Hello?
Hello, Mr. Berry, this is Rochester. I just finished 18 holes of golf.
Oh, you did, eh?
Yeah. Did you wash the living room windows?
Yes, yes.
Did you put out the garbage?
It's out, it's out.
Did you scrub the kitchen floor?
I just did that.
Good. When will dinner be ready?
7 o'clock, and it's the last time I'll play gin rummy with you. Goodbye.
And again, I'm going to come back to this later in the lecture here. But you know, Jack is always bested by Rochester in one way or another, and here he's having to do the housework that Rochester, as his butler, would have otherwise been expected to perform. As we'll talk about again a little bit later, this kind of reversal is always two-edged, right? We laugh because we are reinforcing racial and class stereotypes about what role Rochester really should be performing. So you hear the audience all laughs when he says he's doing 12 holes of golf. And that's funny because it should be the master, Jack Benny, playing golf rather than the servant, Rochester. Like a lot of sitcoms still today, the Jack Benny Show has many, many recurring characters whose behavior the regular listener looks forward to and anticipates, and we delight in that repetition. It's a kind of, I think of it as a kind of musical form of humor. It's like a theme and variation. For example, one of the best examples that we have today is in South Park. Kenny, the character Kenny, has to die in nearly every episode, but crucially in different ways and at different times during each episode. So the regular viewer can share in the delight of both sort of the foreknowledge of the insider tradition that Kenny must die, and still the surprise at the ingenuity of the creators who vary at each time. So we've got that theme, he must die, and the variation, how and when it happens. So we're always sort of waiting for it in expectation, and then when it happens, we can all laugh because we are in on the joke. Very similarly, the Jack Benny Show, almost everyone who listens to it can understand that, you know, when the thief demands your money or your life, and the would-be victim, right, Jack, says, you know, I'm thinking it over. This is funny because his words are those of a cheapskate. But what's interesting here is not just that it's a good line. The audience begins to laugh before the punchline is delivered. So we'll listen to this for just a little bit.
Honey, good night, Benita.
Good night.
Good night. Good night. Thanks. Nice of you to think of me.
Well, I always like to help. Hey, wait a minute. Ronnie, is that your Oscar on the table with the floodlights on it?
Yes.
Say, do you mind if I look at it?
Well,
Gosh, it's really beautiful. You know, Rochester, my butler, has never seen an Oscar. Would it be all right if I borrowed it for a little while?
all right, Jack. Go ahead and take it.
Gee, thanks.
Darling, why did you agree to let him take the Oscar home?
It might as well be with the rest of my things.
What did you say?
Oh, nothing.
Oh, well, Ronnie, it's awfully nice of you. Thanks a lot. I'll just wrap the Oscar in this copy of tonight's newspaper. I haven't read it yet. There we are. Well, good night.
Good night.
Gee, it was nice of him to let me take the Oscar so I could show it to Rochester. I must have stayed there longer than I thought. So dark out. No moon. Oh, well. Hello, kitty. Kitty. Darn it, she got away. She'd have made a wonderful A string.
Hey, Bud. Bud.
Huh?
Got a match?
Match? Yes, I have one right here.
Don't make a move. This is a stick-up.
What?
You heard me.
Mister, put down that gun.
Shut up. Now, come on. Your money or your life? Look, Bud, I said your money or your life. I'm thinking it over. Now, mister, shut up and give me your wallet.
It's a brilliant moment. People often reference this as one of the best comic moments in radio, and it really is wonderful. And you hear how much laughter really gets going before the line is delivered. So it's not really, I mean, the punchline is funny, it's clever, and it fits Jack's character. But it's our imagination, the imagination of the listener, that fills that silence with the knowledge as we make a kind of mental effort to realize, why is Jack pausing? So those of us who know who he is, even before the line is delivered, we realize, oh, he's thinking it over because he's such a cheapskate. So again, thinking back to War of the Worlds, in a very different way, but still using silence in this amazing, amazingly creative way, it's our imaginations that are called upon to supply what might otherwise be supplied by sight. Yeah. So compare this sort of incredibly economical, and I mean economical both in terms of what was spent, but also in terms of creative materials, to a similar moment in the television version of the Jack Benny Show, which went on in the 40s and 50s, or was it only in the 50s? Anyway, it went on to 1955. It coexisted with the Jack Benny Show on the radio. And this is an episode 4 years later. This is 1952 then. Benny is both on the radio and the television, and some thieves visit him in the middle of the night. And this situation is handled very, very differently than on the radio. And I will play this for you, and hopefully we'll be able to do the visual share here as well as the audio.
Hey, Joe, you must be in the kids' room. If that's the baby, I'd like to see the size of the mother and father. This looks like a pretty fancy house. We ought to do pretty good here. Hey, Lefty, look, a silver ashtray. Open the bag. There you are. How do you like that? It's nailed down. Hey, Lefty, come here. Solid gold. Now you're talking. Hey, this thing must have played for Notre Dame. Let's see what's in this drawer. I don't know. Stand aside. Hey, look at these beautiful shirts. Not bad. Boy, these are all right. Hey, man, these are real good. Hey, you know what this job is really going to be okay? Where did them shirts go?
You want to try the other doors?
No.
Boy, this is a tough place. Banks is easier.
Banks?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's Grandma's territory. Let's see what's in here. Done a lot of jobs, but none as execrable as this one.
I know there's a safe in here someplace. Let's find it.
A safe?
Yeah.
Well, let's look.
Here we are, a safe.
Hey! Let's get out of here! What's the matter?
The window's stuck.
The window's stuck? Let me try it. Hey, look in here. A coin slot.
Coin slot.
To open window, deposit 25 cents.
Jack will be back in just a moment, but first...
It's fairly humorous. I still find it funny. My sense of humor is juvenile enough to appreciate all of those sort of visual gags. But I don't think it's quite as clever or as well executed as that very, very short, sharp shock of the silence after that quick question of your money or your life. So these repeated characters, especially Jack's repeated character, is often based on stereotypes that exist outside the world of the broadcast. So, for example, again, today in The Simpsons, we have Homer Simpson, who is an ineffective working class husband and father who basically drinks too much and is abusive, but in a funny way. And his wife Marge is the long-suffering mother and wife who actually keeps the family running. And then we have the children, starved for attention and begging for approval. We have Bart, who is a constant rebel, and Lisa, who overachieves out of neglect. Benny, one of his, in addition to this kind of braggart situation, we also have Benny as being a kind of stereotypical cheapskate, right? And we saw just now all the gags really are based on Benny being, cheap. And partly, again, Benny is playing with certain stereotypes, and in this case, he's playing with a Jewish stereotype. Benny was born Benjamin Kubelski, and he embodies this very familiar anti-Semitic stereotype of the cheapskate and the penny pincher. So these very funny jokes all depend in part on him playing this kind of Jewish stereotype and playing it to the hilt. And that's not the only stereotype that Benny exploits for laughs. He also does what's known sometimes as going swish. Basically, it's a temporary switch, sort of from somebody who is playing a straight male to somebody who's playing a homosexual. He goes swish. And as elsewhere, this sort of performance is, again, it's a kind of two-edged sword. It allows for the perspective and the presence of gayness on stage at a time when it was really not that common, and when it was protected, when the stage was protected against this kind of incursion. But it allows that on stage only at the expense of it being laughed at, right? So you can have it there, you can allow that perspective for a moment, but then we have to laugh at that perspective. And the thing is, this happens so quickly in the Jack Benny show, it goes by so quickly, you really don't notice it. And whenever I've taught this, you know, my students will say, yeah, I was laughing, but I didn't know why I was laughing. And I show it to them and I repeat it to them, and then they get it, they go, oh, and they listen to his voice and they think, oh yes, his voice is kind of the gay straight man, sort of that lilt that he has to his voice. So here's just a few examples that go by very, very quickly, but they're repeated enough so that it's clear what Benny is playing with here. The first is this sort of, the fact that basically, for the first part of the show, Jack is dressed as a woman. Let's get this up for us again.
Oh, yes. Gee, you look cute in that apron.
I'm not trying to look cute. I was down scrubbing the floor and it wasn't easy. I'll pull up my pants leg and show you. There, look at my knees. Now cut that out! Then come in.
All right, but there's a package addressed to you lying out on the walk.
There is? Why don't they deliver those things to the door? I'll go out and get it. Dennis!
It wasn't me, it was that man across the street.
What?
You forgot to roll down your pants leg.
Oh, yes. They are kind of nice, aren't they?
So we have that little moment, and then there's an extended moment. And again, there's a bit of an insider joke here. The walking man. Dennis refers to this thing called the walking man. It was I think Truth or Consequences was another radio show, and they play the sound of somebody walking. We're supposed to figure out who it was that was walking, and it was to raise money for the I think the National Heart Association, and it was actually Jack Benny who was walking, and so, but this went on for some time, and so that's why Dennis, it's funny that Dennis asks this question, because Dennis, his stereotype is sort of the sort of dim-witted kid. But here is that little bit. Find that for you, play it here.
Mr. Benny?
Nothing. Now, kid, what'd you drop over for?
Well, Mr. Benny, I want to ask you something very personal.
Personal? What is it?
Just a second while I close the door.
All right, kid, what is it?
Is anybody else at home?
No, we're all alone. What is it you want to know?
Wait till I close the window.
All right, Dennis, all right. What is it?
Mr. Benny,
Yes?
are you the walking man?
It gets a big laugh, and my students don't really understand what the laugh is for because they're not in on the joke. But that whole lead up to it, Mr. Benny, can I close the window? Can I close the door? I've got something really personal to ask you, right? It seems like it's leading up to some kind of question about sex, right? Because it's this, and it's, you know, because Dennis has this, you know, young, very, very childish voice. It seems like he's going to ask something that's really kind of embarrassing and sexual nature. And again, sort of Dennis opposite Benny, you know, is very, is also kind of, you know, kind of in between sort of masculine and feminine people. Somebody asked me about Raj on Big Bang Theory. I'm so sorry. I I've never watched Big Bang Theory. I'm terribly sorry. I'm very very behind on these sorts of things. Bugs Bunny, yes, I know Bugs Bunny definitely goes swish all the time, and it's definitely that sort of thing. He goes swish, and he is, you know, not only does he dress up, he cross dresses in, you know, girl bunny costumes, but he speaks in certain ways that seem a bit lavender, as to also use the parlance of the time. So here, though, is another moment right after this bit about the sex, and it's really again, you really sort of scratch your head and think, what is the joke here? But it seems like it can only go one way.
All right, Dennis, all right. What is it?
Mr. Benny,
Yes?
are you the walking man?
Dennis, come here a minute.
Huh?
Let me feel your head. No, the other one.
What can he possibly mean there? Let me feel your head. No, the other one, right? I've never been able to figure out any other meaning other than it's sexual. That's all I can figure out with that. And because they have this relationship that's playing with this identity, it makes sense. You know, and the whole time, of course, that Dennis is singing his song, as we learn afterwards, Jack has been riding around on his back. I'll bring that up very quickly here.
Now look, kid, I want to go over.
I'm sure they never will.
He's got an amazing voice, doesn't he? You would never dream that person who speaks like that sings like that.
Come here, you vomit. One more shout out of you, and I'll thrash you within an inch of your life.
But gee, I sang as good as I could.
Oh, pardon me, kid. While you were singing, I was reading the script.
Oh,
It's a Western, you know, and I guess I got carried away.
I know. You rode me piggyback through the last half of the chorus.
I'm sorry, kid.
Well, then get off.
Oh, yes. You know, kid, your pockets make nice stirrups there. Anyway, this is the best story. Somebody came in. Rochester, is that you coming back?
It ain't General MacArthur.
Well, it's about time.
I'll stop it there. So it's these things go by so quickly, and we laugh, and sometimes, as my students say, I don't know why I was laughing. I was just laughing, and I found myself, you know, it's sort of we get the joke, and yet we don't get the joke, or we get the joke, and we're just conditioned to laugh. Returning just one more time to the nature of radio, and something that I mentioned in the very first class, and it's a very basic truth. Radio is just sound. It has no visual or objective component. And so when something is said, it's gone. It disappears. There's nothing on stage to remind you of it, and it can't come back. And so the thing about radio is, as we saw War of the Worlds, that is really wonderful for getting people frightened and depicting death. And here with Jack Benny, that sort of quick appearance and disappearance of sound is really useful if you want to get something sort of subversive or objectionable into people's minds, because the sound of radio is just there 1 minute I'm gone next. Thank you all.